Well, welcome back to another exciting episode of Let's Talk Comics, the official Image Comics podcast. I am your host, Jim Viscardi, and it's another day, which means another San Diego Comic-Con replay. We need to get like a reverb. Replay. Anyway, today's conversation is with Doug Wagner, Michael Walsh, Tyler Boss, Curt Pires, and Jonathan Ball. It's an interesting group to get together because I think they're all doing things right now that are really turning some heads and doing a lot to capture new eyeballs towards reading comics. So obviously we're going to talk about the books that they have coming up, Yumi and Exquisite Corpses and Rascal Randy, Fireborn, Lost Fantasy, and The Eye Collector. But we also get into the panel kind of takes a little bit of a turn and becomes a horror panel for a little bit. We talk about how horror has changed the industry. We've talked about how social media is kind of creating a new kind of comics community. And in this day and age, like what are some of the things that creators need to do given this new landscape to kind of, get the time and attention of a reader? So that's probably all the tease I'll give you for today. There will be one more after this, and then we get back to our regularly scheduled program. This was a great room. It was one of the biggest rooms I think we as Image Comics have been in a bit. There was a great crowd, some great fan questions. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's talk comics. Oh, wait, I lied. I'm sorry. One more thing before we get started. In doing some of the editing for this episode, and you probably will have noticed it a little bit in some of the other episodes, my audio cleaner absolutely ate all of the applause in some of these, in this recording in particular. So during the introductions, you won't really hear any of the applause there. It'll just be kind of quick cuts. That is intentional, not anything wrong with your earbuds or listening file or whatever. There are a few little hiccups like that. All right. That's it. Just want to get that out of the way. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's talk comics.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to, the midpoint of day 3, 4 of Comic-Con. Who's been here for all 3 days? Who's been here since like first thing in the morning? You guys are the real heroes. Congratulations, you're making it. My name is Jim Viscardi. I'm the host of Let's Talk Comics, the official Image Comics podcast. I do a bunch of other stuff for Image as well, but you don't care about me. You care about the folks that I am going to bring out up here on stage to talk about the future of comics. First up, you may know him from his series on Narco. He's got a new series called Yumi 00EX coming out, Mr. Doug Wagner. Next up, one of the co-creators of Exquisite Corpses, also the Silver Coin, Mr. Michael Walsh. His new series just hit, Exquisite Corpses, Rascal Randy, Tyler Boss. Co-creator of Fireborn and creator of Lost Fantasy, Curt Pires. And then one of the co-creators of The Eye Collector, Jonathan Ball. Ooh, jeez. All right, here's what we're going to do today. We're doing a little bit of everything. I'm going to give these guys the opportunity to talk about some of the books that they've got coming out from Image Comics over the next couple of months. Then I'm going to throw them some questions about what it's like working in comics and what they think the future of comics is going to look like. And then we're going to open it up to some fan questions. I know we've got a mic. I will let you know when to start lining up for the mic. And then other than that, we're just going to have a good time. So I hope you're all ready. Doug, we're going to come to you first because you've got... Oops, geez, I am already slacking on this. For Yumi 00EX, this one's a little bit of a different book for you. Where it's you're writing a spy, a little bit of a spy book, but turning it on its head.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
What I like to tell people is like, imagine if James Bond wasn't interested in saving the world. That's Yumi. 100%. She's looking for her missing boyfriend who was MI6, and she's going to burn the world down to try to find him. Along the way, she kind of finds a AI Lamborghini who she teaches to talk like Cardi B, and together they're gonna destroy everything in their path. You see some cool pages there from Hoyt Silva. Music plays a really big part in it. I really wanted to honestly tell like an anti-spy story, because typically spy stories are about duty and patriotism, right? Well, this one's about love, and I think that's far more dangerous than patriotism.
Well, I think the spy stories don't get to spend enough time on love, and now here we go.
Yep.
We've got a few more preview pages to show here.
Thanks. And you can tell like we wanted music to be like a really big part, so that's why the musical notes are in there. Yumi listens to music nonstop, and that was a really important part to us. Is like it took me probably, I won't lie, like I probably spent 60 hours going through music, trying to find the right songs. It had to be female driven, female power, no male members in any bands whatsoever. So that was important to Hoyt and I to like Yumi is a very eclectic human being. And she has eclectic taste. So, like in this, the first one opens up with Billie Eilish, which everybody knows. But then we use bands and stuff that nobody's ever heard of because we wanted to make sure it was very, very eclectic.
Are we going to get like a Spotify sound?
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely.
Love that. We've got the covers here for issue 2. You got some really fun cover artists on this book as well, right? We've got Sweeney Boo, and we've also got Walsh as well. What's it like how do you find the right cover artist for a book like this?
We were just actually talking about variant covers in the back, just kind of like the search and how that's almost a full-time job in itself of like trying to find the right cover people. Are they available? When they're going to be available? Will they be able to turn it in time? Obviously, the most important question, how much do you charge? So you're going to dive into those kind of things. But again, on this one, we wanted, like, Hoyt and I understood we were writing a female character, so we wanted to make sure every other cover artist was female. So that was very important to us that we were pushing that message. So Sweeney Boo, Loish, the one on the right says Loish, but that's actually Mirka.
Oh,
Mirka Andolfo.
Oh, that's
and we've got Eliza Ivanoff, who's amazing. So it was just like going out there and trying to find the right people.
One of the things that I think you do really well, and is a constant in your books, is there's an undercurrent of comedy that's in your stuff, and I think it really kind of helps readers settle in. What kind of and you've done comedy of all sorts in some of your other books. What's the comedy sense in there, or is there?
Oh, I mean, there is. I mean, this one is just absurdity. You heard, like, we have a car that talks like Cardi B. Like, we just wanted to have fun with it, and instead of having the typical, like, a lot of the spy stuff is very stiff. There's not a lot of comedy in it, and we wanted to kind of flip that on its head. And Yumi is like a force of nature. So, like, everybody else is playing by spy rules. Yumi's playing by Yumi rules, and those don't exist. So, it's just like having fun doing that kind of stuff.
Love it. Michael, we're going to come to you for a sec and talk about the world of Exquisite Corpses. Just finishing season 1. This has been a absolute...
Thank you, guys.
Absolute wild ride. For you, right? Like, I remember when you guys were first talking about what this series is and how you were building this series.
Yeah.
With bringing in a bunch of other creators to write and draw and whatever. Like, how do you feel now on the other side of it versus when you were starting out?
I feel like this has been one of the most rewarding books I've ever done in my career. I love the aspect of collaboration in comics. I mean, I kind of bounce back and forth between writing and drawing my own books and then doing really heavily collaborative projects as well. And I had just been coming off of Silver Coin, which was an anthology-style horror book that I drew all of, and then I had a different writer for every issue on it. And James Tynan, who wrote one of the issues, had called me and said, "Hey, I've got kind of a wild idea. And, I know that you're familiar with working with a bunch of different people and managing a room of writers. I want to do a serial killer battle royale. What do you think?" And I said, "That sounds incredible. Let's do it." And he said, "My idea is that we call it Exquisite Corpses, like the ancient game called Exquisite Corpse, where every person draws a part of the character, and you create this strange amalgam chimera character by 3 different artists." So his idea was that we start this series with a big giant size issue, and then we hand off each issue to a new writer and a new creative team. Meanwhile, me and James kind of coordinate and show run the whole project and still bookend each issue with my art and his writing. And so we assembled a crack team of writers, and we got together in Buffalo, and we had a 3-day writer's room where we locked ourselves in a cave, and we came up with what happened for the entire series in that 3 days. And then we kind of dispersed throughout North America, and everyone wrote their piece of the puzzle, and we assembled it all together. It was incredible. And I learned so much from all of my collaborators, one of whom is sitting beside me here. And I think the project is better for it. It's such a distinct and unique book with its own visual aesthetic, and every character feels like it has such a specific voice because of all the people that were involved in the writing process.
What were maybe some of the bigger takeaways for you in show running this that was a different experience on the Silver Coin?
Well, with Silver Coin, it was a much looser process where I would just present the writer with the idea of what the silver coin is. It's this cursed coin that is rolling through time, and anybody who picks it up has horrible, awful things happen to them. And so I would say, do whatever you want. Here's where the coin is in 1976. Here's where it is in 1985. So you've got a 5-year gap there. You can literally go crazy in that time as long as the coin isn't destroyed. Right. So the writers on that book had complete freedom, and we would usually get on a Zoom call. They'd throw ideas at me. I'd throw ideas for set pieces in those issues or visual pages that I wanted to get through to be really horrible and unsettling in that issue somewhere, because I think in horror, what you're trying to do is build towards that water cooler moment where you turn the page and you gasp in disbelief at the horror of what you're seeing. So I think like when I'm collaborating with a writer on a horror thing, I find it really useful to tell them this would be a really unique image and it would really disturb people. Let's find a way to get there and put that in this story somewhere. With Exquisite Corpses, it was way more organized. We had the entire backing of the Tiny Onion crew. They've got an incredible infrastructure that helped us facilitate this project, as Tyler can attest to. And so, you know, they were able to have 3 editors on the book to make sure the voices felt like they were all of one piece. There was a continuity there, and they were just making sure that this felt like a cohesive narrative voice. Yeah.
Who were some of the early favorite killers?
Well, we kind of had the inkling that Fox Mask Killer was going to be the one that people really gravitated towards, as well as Randy. And it was after the first call I had with James, he didn't really have an idea of what the plot was. He had an idea of what the project looked like and what the world looked like. So on that first call, he said, "What do you think of a serial killer battle royale?" And we talked for almost 2 hours about all the different archetypes of action and horror and what these serial killers could look like. And, you know, in my mind, I was thinking of this like Street Fighter, and that the designs of each of these killers had to be so iconic that and descriptive that you could take a lot about who they were just by looking at them. You know, like if you're looking at this image here that's on my screen, not on that screen.
We'll put it back up.
There you go. You know, like I wanted each cover to almost look like a character select screen in a fighting game, where you look at these characters, you're getting a story just from the way that they look and pulling that story from them, because the book is really about the civilians that are encountering these killers, not about the killers themselves. So they needed to really just stand alone in the iconic imagery of what they look like. But yeah, so after that first call, the next day, I'd already sent James a batch of like 6 or 7 killer designs. I think we only used 3 of them, but in that first batch was Fox Mask Killer. She was one of the first killers that I sent to James, and he was like, perfect, no notes. And I kept trying to iterate on her design, but James has a brain that he can really quickly decipher, I think, what people are going to be attracted to in a character and which ones they're going to really resonate with. And he knew, he was like, no, Fox Mask Killer is the #1 cover. We're going to put her right on the front of the first issue. And then I think Rascal Randy was actually more of a process because he was originally a rat. And I changed the design throughout the process. And I think once I landed those bunny ears, it really connected. And we realized like this is the mascot of Exquisite Corpses. And that's really one of the characters that everyone's been attached to. And I don't want to spoil too much of the first season, but, you know, we'll be seeing Randy again in other books down the road.
Well,
and also in other seasons of Exquisite Corpses.
We love that. Last, want to mention what you've been talking to the character design. James also has a great line that when I spoke to him about this, saying that when it came to character designs and what makes a good character design, one of the key things that he looks for is it cosplayable?
Yeah,
and I think that is such a to me one of the most brilliant kind of things because you want, like, I mean, you've seen it since the book launched. Yeah. So many people cosplaying as Fox Mask Killer and some of the other ones. And I think it's just a testament to what you guys have put together there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think the more simple and elegant the design, the easier it is for people to connect to it. So one of the parts of the process for me was coming up with a really specific color coding for each character too, where it'd be like they have 2 colors and then sometimes a spot color that also punctuates the design of the character.
Awesome. All right, Tyler, let's talk about Rascal Randy for a bit. Everyone's favorite murderous mascot. Talk to. Let me hear a little bit about why this one and what you wanted to do with it and what it was like working with the team to tell this story.
Yeah. So I mean, with Randy, there was an idea, I think early on from the sort of Tiny Onion editorial team that if Corpses was the hit that they were hoping it would be, and it turned out to be, that we could expand upon some of the more beloved killers. And like Michael said, Fox Mask, Rascal Randy, Lone Gunman, they sort of were ones that popped out. The reasons why we got picked maybe to me for Randy and Shay Grayson for Fox Mask and Pornsang Pishashot for Lone Gunman was I was obnoxiously always picking Randy to play when we would play the card game Exquisite Corpses. Like that's how we started the writer's room, was Michael had made up the cards already, and that's, I kept always taking him because I thought he was really fun design. But yeah, taking off from Corpses and doing the Rascal story with our wonderful artist on the series, Dylan Burnett, and then having Jordi Belair on colors and Becca Carey back on letters. We got a really fun opportunity to, in the main Exquisite Corpses line, Michael had done such a good job of color coding everybody and doing these things, and James and him had set these rules of sort of, we don't want to spend too much time with the killers because it sort of waters them down, and that we need to spend more time with the civilians. And then now with these sort of highlight series on these characters, we get to spend more time and learn their backstory. And so for Corpse fans, you're going to get things inside these stories that feed back into season 2 or back into season 1, or Easter eggs on other things. But then also, if you, for whatever reason, just really think Fox Mask Killer is cool, you could just read the Fox Mask Killer book and have a great book there. So it's a great way to let each of us sort of play in the Exquisite Corpses sandbox and sort of be additive to it, while also not being taking away from like what season 2 is going to be and the sort of the format of what Corpses is.
Mm-hmm. The book you did before this, You'll Do Bad Things, also had a lot of very bad things happen in that.
Sure.
How do you, when jumping into another project that will have a lot of
violence?
How do you just make sure, like, what's the process to make sure you're not going too overboard, but make it feel specific to the character and what?
Yeah, I think there is a line with it, and I think, it's going to not make me sound great, but you kind of have to inhabit the character a little bit. And there was things where we're going through, even like in our miniseries with Randy, coming up with what his kills would be like, and trying to make those exciting for the readers, where, our book is somewhere between a slasher and a maybe something slightly more complicated than a simple slasher, but we wanted the kills to be that sort of thing. But I had versions of kills and scenes that we had to change because it didn't feel like Randy. And so at a certain point, people are always, who's under the mask? And I'm like, well, currently it's me because I'm writing the character. And so, you're trying to really be, why is this bunny doing what he's doing? Why are the kills the way that they are?
It's James. James is under the mask.
Yes, the whole time. Yeah, that's what's going to be at the end of it. But yeah, no, it's, in Bad Things too, I think it's a lot of horror writing and doing those things is your, spoiler for every horror writer, we're telling you the things that we're most afraid of. There's kills that happen in Bad Things. There's kills that happen in Rascal Randy that are specific nightmares that I have or fears that I have that you're then putting into the work.
Tyler's afraid of ovens. Just so you'll get that once you read a few issues of Randy.
A couple issues in.
As we've got some upcoming covers or the cover for next month. Like, this is a series that is going to dive a bit deeper, tell a little bit more backstory. In Randy, what was it like, kind of building his story, his world, that also kind of is separate from what we've seen from him in Exquisite Corpses, but makes him, I guess, kind of a vulnerable character.
Yeah, he's it was really fun. I was really happy. Like, James and Michael, they're so collaborative and helped with sort of like shepherding the series, and the entire Tiny Onion editorial team too. But they really let me and Dylan, we had this idea and they were like, go for it, and we take Randy from the inception of the character in world being created, and we go with him from, when he's created in 1920 all the way up into, the start of Exquisite Corpses season 1. And so getting to tell that story where, it's a little, we're dealing with comics, inside of animations, inside of art, which feels very much, we're dealing with a corporate mascot figurehead in a way that is, maybe eschewing these properties that we love, but do they love us back?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is probably not.
Well, it's funny doing a creator-owned comic about work for hire.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
There's a bit of a meta-narrative on the history of animation and work for hire.
Yeah.
Again, on the cover front, you guys are getting some crazy great artists on this. We showed one from Brett Breen earlier. We've got another one from Rob Guillory, which is awesome. Tyler, you're doing covers as well for these.
Yeah, all the B covers are sort of weird in-world sort of art things where the live magazine is so we don't get sued by Life, but it's sort of don't tell them.
One of the other things that you guys are also doing, you guys alluded to it a little bit. I'm just going to go through some of the other stuff. Is you mentioned the card game, and like Michael, I know you're obviously you're super big. You're in that world. Cards are also coming with Rascal Randy. Are the cards kind of different than what they were for Exquisite Corpses for Randy, or are they all just kind of more towards the deck building in the game?
So yeah, we have the polybag variant of each Exquisite Corpses spin-off series, and each of the polybag variants will come with a new card. For the first issue, you're going to get an alt art for the core Randy card that was released with the Kickstarter and with Exquisite Corpses. But each subsequent issue's polybag is going to come with an all-new event card. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Exquisite Corpses game, but there's a communal deck that's called the event deck that each player is drawing from that features events from the comic books. And as you unveil one of the event cards from the deck, it alters the state of the game and the board and each character that you're playing as. So we really wanted to have specific cards for the Rascal Randy series that feature events from those issues that then you can put into your event deck and customize it so that you're playing with cards that only you may even have. So if you're playing the game with your friends, you can bring the card you just grabbed from the Rascal Randy issue 2, throw it in the event deck, and hopefully draw it at some point of the game.
Love that. We've got the cover to October's issue 4, showing this one for the first time. And we also have some of the variants and stuff on that. The Luigi one is just so good. And the Ito cover is
seen that one,
terrifying. It's really the best ways to put it. And then again, like we mentioned, there are two more coming after on the heels of Rascal Randy. Fox Mask Killer, Lone Gunman, each getting their own as well. So looking forward to that. Curt, we're going to come to you for a sec. We're going to talk about Fireborn for a little bit. Fireborn issue 4 out next month. This is one where you guys introduced a bit of a new villain, and tell us about where 4 is going to leave us in Fireborn.
Well, it's the end of our first arc. All our issues are giant size because I'm a masochist, but this one went extra giant size. So it's basically an entire fight through the city of New York that I'm lucky enough to have my co-writer on this project, Franklin Jonas, lived in New York for a long time. So he kind of helped me craft this fight to destroy as many landmarks and beloved places in New York as we could in a single issue of a comic book. But it's really just a giant fight, and we're going to bring in some of those you could see on the cover there. Henry from Lost Fantasy may or may not show up, but it's just it's a high octane fantasy superhero comic that is made for people who love this sort of thing. At Image Comics, we're really trying to make a book that we would want to run to the store and buy every week when it comes out. So, giant size fight issue in the grand Image Comics tradition.
Love it. Let's talk about the Lost Fantasy 12 as well, and then essentially we'll tee up what both of those will lead into.
Yeah, exactly. So Lost Fantasy 12, we've been working on our story arc, Fall of the Hunters, where our big series villain, Edge, another giant sword boy. This is a giant sword book at Image Comics. And so we see on the cover here Henry's father, who supposedly died in 5 riding a dragon, and so we're going to show where he's been and how he's got going to come back and all that entails. It's written by myself. Timmy's doing the backup. We got pages from Luca, from Alex Dioto, and from amazing new artist Luke Dockery. So it's really like a giant-sized jam issue. And we have the awesome Chrono Trigger cover. But the big thing that we're teeing up here is at the end of both these issues, Lost Fantasy 12 and Fireborn 4, these characters in these books are going to collide and set up our new event featuring this amazing cover art by Jarrett Hartnell called Showdown. So it's dragon superhero guy and giant sword guy beating the crap out of each other, but we're smart, so we wanted to do it in a smart way, right? So we're doing some Sandman stuff where each issue tells the one character's side of the fight and everything leading up to it and their perspective on the fight and how they're seeing things. So it's one fight, but you can live the fight from each character's perspective in their respective books. So it's something really fresh and cool, and we're very excited to have our 2 big books colliding with each other. And because people love our homage covers, we did some extra ones, right? We got a Spider-Man Venom homage there, great homage to the Ryan Stegman, Donny Cates Venom #1 with the cool lightning, and then Jarrett's cover E is a connecting cover, so they'll connect and form that huge teaser image. Lost Fantasy 13, again, this side of the fight, we're telling it from Henry's side. And so Timmy, who's been writing a lot of the backups in Lost Fantasy and Fireborn, is going to be collaborating with me, and we'll see why Henry comes to this world, who he has to fight before he fights Fireborn, and how sort of these worlds and stories connect even more. More great homages. It's a Final Fantasy IX homage. I think this one's X-Men versus Street Fighter, and then the other side of the connecting cover by Jarrett Hartnell. So these are both going to be giant-sized issues. They're out the same day as the first volume of Fireborn. So the whole idea is here, you'll go to the shop on Wednesday, October 28th. There's going to be so much amazing comics we've made for you. You're going to say, wow, thank you so much. You guys you love us. Wow, thank you, Curt. Thank you. And we'll be very grateful for you for reading our books. But we're just trying to really own that Wednesday, I love when I was reading a lot of Image books, and still to this day when there's a trade and a new issue. So for this, we're taking it one step further. We got the trade and 2 new issues.
Love it. Curt, I'd love to hear a little bit about Fireborn is a book that spun out of Lost Fantasy. And then obviously, now you've got the 2 books, coming together. How much of that was pre-planned? How much of that was organic based off of, what you were seeing in momentum in Lost Fantasy and what you wanted to do in bringing it all together?
So it's sort of both. We do have to plan stuff because I don't want people to feel too much that I'm just throwing shit at the wall, right? We want you to feel like these guys have a master plan. We're also trying to follow the story. And so at the end of Fireborn 1, we set up this big character beat where you see Henry, the lead of Lost Fantasy, is really seeing what's this kid doing? Like he's tearing up NYC sets a building on fire, and we sort of tee up that he's coming for him. And then as the rest of the Fireborn arc goes on, we sort of lay these breadcrumbs, and then it really all collides at the end of, like we were talking at the start of this segment about Lost Fantasy 12 and Fireborn 4. And so for me, really, it's just how do we make the most exciting comics possible, right? I think really there's so many comics out right now, we can't take for granted readers' time or money, right? You could be on your phone scrolling TikTok for 7 hours like my girlfriend likes to. God bless her. I don't understand it. But we got to compete with the streaming, the video games, the TikTok. So my whole thing is, okay, we got to earn our $5 and we got to make the best damn comics we can make. And so a huge part of that is just doing stuff like this. We're finding, a way to drive people to the stores, to eventize our comics, but like in a fresh way. This isn't a Marvel event where it's $10 and you get, bored at the end or whatever. I didn't really mean to fire that shot at Marvel specifically, but there's a history of not so great comic events at many companies. And so for this, if we're going to do it, we had to do it in a way that's unique and special. And I think we've really crafted something great. And, like they were talking about Exquisite Corpses, this is sort of a jam session with, me, Franklin, Timmy, all our great artists. And so we're just trying to make something special that we'd be, happy to buy ourselves.
Love it. And the Curt Comics train does not stop because we've got another tease for something coming out at the end of the year.
Yes, here we go. Project Monster, because we love a cryptic teaser, and we love our beautiful Comic-Con people who come to the actual comic panels at Comic-Con. You're magic and special, and we appreciate you all. So Project Monster, it's my biggest project yet at Image Comics. It's out early December, and that's all we're going to say for now. We're just, we're not stopping. We're so grateful for all the readers on Fireborn, Lost Fantasy. And again, like I said before, I'm a masochist. So just when you finish launching one big thing, let's go even bigger. So this is the biggest project yet. It's bigger than comics. It's got a murder's row of talent on it. And so we're going even bigger with Image. Look out for announcement very soon, but December, be ready to go to your shop and pick it up.
Love to hear it. Love to hear that. All right, Jonathan, let's talk about a book that is decidedly different, The Eye Collector. This has been, this one launched really, really great, and you guys have been having a ton of fun on this. Talk to us a little bit about what this is, where we're at, and what we've got to come.
Yeah, well, The Eye Collector is about a cosmic horror monster that just goes by the Eye Collector, but is also an amalgamation, kind of glimpsed in stories about the Man in the Moon, the Sandman, the Boogeyman, the Ophilim, the angels with the eyes. He's all these things. And he in the first issue, we sort of, have him come down to Earth after his interest in humanity is reignited when the Apollo 10 mission goes near the moon. What the Eye Collector is on a certain fundamental level is a dream parasite. And so he collects points of view, he collects perspectives, he collects eyes, more literally. And he feels sorry for humans who are locked in one point of view. And so he thinks he's helping by coming down to Earth and, engaging with us again and, trying to give us the things that we think we want. But of course, that's the worst thing you can do to a human. And from the point of view of humanity and the people he's engaging with, he's a terrifying nightmare. He's just trying to help, but it's a terrifying situation that his help puts people in.
I am someone who I can't do contacts just because of the fear of like touching my eyeball.
Same here.
That's why I've got glasses, and so like this book is extra painful for me in the terrifying sense, just because of that. There are like some of the covers that you've had where the missing eyes and stuff like that. But I think like one of the things that I love about this book and what you're doing with GMB, the artist on this book is. These are the pages in this book, and you can see it on the covers. We'll show the cover to the next issue. This is different than what you would get in comics, and I would love to hear a little bit about what you and Greg and Lyndon were talking about in the beginning that made comics the only way really to tell this story.
Well, our sort of Stan Lee, Todd McFarlane style, pitch for this is the strangest series on the stands. And what we're really trying to do is not be weird for the sake of weird, but really tap into a avant-garde history of surrealism and pull that into, somewhat mainstream-ish comics. There's a giant mechanical spider later on, but also, it's a very, just like in Wild Wild West, by the way, but also it's a very, oddly paced, very elliptical story with a lot of mystery to it. I really wanted, for me, if the book is going to come out in singles, I really wanted especially to have a book that if you're waiting a month for the next one, you could just keep rereading this one. And every time you reread it, there's something new there. And so it's really, there's a density of things going on in the different pages of the Eye Collector. You can almost go down a different rabbit hole on each page, either because of the overlaying collage-like visuals that Gregory has constructed, or because, I've got a snippet of dialogue or a snippet of a quote that you could dig into further, where is that from? What is it doing here? And so on. And, there's just a lot of things that the reviewers have been very kind to note that I'm not holding any hands as a writer in the Eye Collector. But it's also not throwing you to the wolves. I believe that if you're going to do something strange, you sort of have to also invite people into it and kind of teach them how to read it on a certain level as you're doing it. So it's been really gratifying how the response has been, because people seem, in a way that I wasn't expecting, very willing to, go along in a way. But it's been a very hard series to construct. We did construct it. We've got 12 issues already done. That's why he can show you things, from 5 here as we're just about to put out 2. And, we're hoping to do some more Eye Collector beyond the 12 as well. But the thing that has kind of worked very well for us on this level is just having done all those issues, and seeing, because it's such a strange experiment on a certain level, to make sure it would work and it would build, we kind of had to build it out as much as we could. Mm-hmm. And so it's got, I think some really fun, interesting moments. There's a great density but still sort of just iconic, grabbiness to Gregory's artwork too, which I think really helps a lot. But yeah, it's the cosmic horror that just wants you to be happier.
Nice. All right. That gets us through this part. I'm going to throw some questions out to the guys here. If anyone has any questions for the group here about comics or their projects in general, Mike is up here, and we'll call you out as you guys are lining up. But guys, I have the question I'd love to start with is, you guys all of you here have been in comics for varying levels of time. And in that time, I would say, comics as a landscape, the books that have come out have, continued to kind of move forward, innovate, and things like that. What would you say are some of the bigger changes in comics that you've seen from back maybe when you guys were just getting started to what you're seeing today?
I started in comics about 15 years ago. My very first ever book was an Image book. It was a sci-fi thriller called Come Back, and my second ever book was an Image book, and that was a spy thriller called Zero. But I was at Marvel for 7 or 8 years, and in that time, there was an idea that horror comics wouldn't sell anymore. And I have always been a horror guy. I find it such a fun genre. It's so evocative. It gives you nightmares, but it's very affecting. And anything that can really affect you as somebody who's absorbing the media, I find that is successful art that makes you connected to it. And as you can see now, the idea that horror doesn't sell comics has really shifted on its head from a few years ago. So I'm very happy for that change in the medium. Yeah.
I feel that's also the thing I think is the biggest shift. But I think on a logistical level, the distribution landscape has really changed, as we know, and that has had good things and bad things. But the weirdness and the chaos that has sort of ensued in different moments, I think has given rise to a lot of interesting opportunities. And kind of in that mix and in that appetite for horror, the other thing I've always loved about horror and why I just primarily myself am practicing in horror is, aside from just loving the genre, it's a genre where the audience is trained to want something different, and they demand something different, and they're trained in, although they don't realize it, they're trained in surrealism. They're trained in avant-garde techniques. They're trained in experimentation. They're trained to understand and accept Lynchian pacing. And there's just a way in which that audience for horror is not only a loyal audience, but also a very hungry audience for something new and strange and different. And that's just to sort of combine those two things, that's an audience that has a stability that can help, the industry weather certain storms. So although, that audience will go up and down for horror, it's always there. And it can really, I think, help. It's very gratifying to work in a genre where the fans truly are making that core difference all the time.
I think it's interesting to say that because we were talking a little bit before about how social media has been, basically where it was even almost 20 years ago to where it is now. I think we're seeing so many content creators on social that are kind of really coming into comics in a way and promoting books in a way or talking about books in a way that is very different from, the way fans like myself used to interact, in forums and things like that. What have you guys have seen kind of on that front, and what gets you excited about, seeing new people, new readers interacting with your stuff and being genuinely excited about it?
I'll shout a couple of people out, but I think we lost forums a while ago. You hear back in, the early 2000s, the 2010s, there was forums where everybody met up, and that's where they talked comics, and that was sort of the meeting ground. And, comic shops in general have always sort of been the meeting ground too, but having an online digital space. And then I feel like after those forums went away, it kind of, people tried Reddit, people tried these other things, but nothing really took until, I'll shout out League of Comic Geeks, having this sort of centralized place where fans can, sort of catalog and talk and see, oh, you're reading that, let's go read that. And people like Sammy the Monster who have, created a trust with their audience to be like, hey, I'm going to rec you these different books. And then, some of these younger guys like Cody Collects or Comic Book Stash, they got their TikToks and their YouTubes, and they go to the shop and they are picking up books. And maybe they started with, Absolute Batman or a Marvel series, but then you watch them sear off and they're picking up an Image book, or even now they're getting into even the weirder stuff like a Drawn and Quarterly or Fantagraphics stuff. And I don't know, it's cool. It's just I feel like the current generation, there's so much excitement to read and be a reader, and having that centralized platform for it of something like League or these things where people can, just keep track of everything has been crazy.
Yeah.
I'm loving the positivity that they're bringing too.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a long time there, it felt like everything that was being posted online about comics was criticism.
Yeah.
And this new generation of TikTokers and YouTubers, I think a lot of them are coming in and just talking about what they're excited about, which is making me excited, which is bringing in new fans to books like all the ones.
Everybody,
yeah.
Well, also it lets you directly connect with your audience and pitch them your book, right? Like years ago, it used to be like, okay, you got to get a writer on CBR or get your book on Bleeding Cool or something like this, and now it's like, great, if you have some sort of following or you could connect with one of these people, you can sort of pitch your book directly to the readers. And so I think that's great. And a lot of the success that we've been having with Fireborn Lost Fantasy is coming from social media and people seeing the homage covers we do and the social content we're doing and coming to the book. So I think it's awesome, actually. It's kind of removed a lot of the gatekeeping to getting your book in front of people.
Love that.
And I think the retailers have done a really good job of utilizing the media in many cases. Like I know Four Color Fantasies, for example, was a store that was really supporting us online in an interesting way, and in a way that honestly we're not that savvy. And to have somebody else fill the void in those sorts of ways has been really gratifying.
Love it. Then we got a question at the mic.
Yes. Hi. Sorry. My name is Chris from Massachusetts. A question for Michael Walsh. This is the only book I read was Silver Coin. The five of you that are up here. What happened with the book? And I heard it's coming back into outer space.
Spoiler.
Sorry, it's on the internet.
No. No, the book is coming back. Definitely. I'm just very, very busy. But I'm hard at work on volume 4. And also on Exquisite Corpses, and also on the recently announced DC book, Jonah Hex. So as you can imagine, I'm working on a lot of things at the moment, but I have scripts for Volume 4 of Silver Coin, and almost 2 issues of art done. So it's moving slowly but surely, and it will be coming back. And yes, there is, just like Jeff's original issue that was set in the future, had a kind of a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk vibe. There's going to be an issue that I'm writing for Volume 4 that is directly inspired by my love of the movie Aliens. So it's kind of like, what if the coin got brought up to space in a ship full of human cargo? And that's kind of the general concept, and things kind of go off the rails from there.
Fantastic. Can't wait.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
What if the issue was just like nothing ever happened? The coin was just like, that was on a coffee break.
This is why I get Tyler to write comics with me.
Go ahead, man.
Hello, my name's Hayden. The one question I have is, what either comic panel or scene from a movie, horror be it, truly inspired you guys to truly get into it?
Man, that's a tough one when you start thinking about, like, because there's been so many great horror films over the years, and like to pick one would be almost impossible. I mean, I'm going to go with a classic. The 2 girls at the end of the hall in The Shining, still to this day, is still like sends chills up my spine every time I see it. That one always rings a bell.
For me, I love body horror, and the scene in The Fly with Jeff Goldblum where his nails are coming off and he's squeezing his finger and it's the pus is squirting out. Like, oh my God, that scene grosses me out so much, and it makes me want to do that to you guys. Just gross you out with really weird pages of body horror.
You mean in the comic, right?
In the comic.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
I'm a little basic. I'm just such a fan of John Carpenter and Halloween, and so just such a pure auteur movie. I mean, he wrote the screenplay, directed it, he did the score, and I think he even Stagehand went and found the mask, but I think he was the one who decided to paint the Shatner mask white. But just that there's that one shot of when Laurie's in her bedroom and he's just standing, Michael Myers, with the clotheslines things. It's just, I don't know, that suburban boogeyman thing. That's always been the thing that sticks with me most.
I like the scene in Mandy, which is sort of a revenge horror movie, where he forges the giant metal axe to go kill all the people who murdered his girlfriend. That's super sick. There's amazing metal music playing over it.
For me, it's always The Thing and The Pillar of Dogs.
Love that. You just recently on Narco did a whole bunch of Hitchcock-inspired
covers
as well.
Which was crazy because when we first came up with it, the first thing the editor on the book said was like, nobody's going to know who Alfred Hitchcock is. And I was like, I don't care. I love Alfred Hitchcock, and we're going to do those posters. And it was crazy because when I started looking at these posters, you see them and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Nobody does anything like this anymore. I'm not sure it's going to work on comic stands. But when they came out, they were gorgeous. Yep. So yeah, I loved them.
That's the saddest thing I've heard today, that nobody knows who Alfred Hitchcock is.
That's like, wow.
Please, if you guys don't know Alfred Hitchcock, go watch some Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Priscilla, and I had a question about towards the comic artists, and it's just a general question. When it comes to designing a character, especially one for horror, what is something that, what is your thought process? That's what I've been wondering, especially if you're going through an art block or something like that.
The best piece of character design advice I ever got was from David Mazzucchelli, who's a genius. You should be able to tell your main characters all apart in silhouette. So make sure shape and size from different things when lined up against each other. That's a great place to start at. Simplicity. And then also just put in what scares you. When I was designing the killer for a book that I did called You'll Do Bad Things, the thing that scared me the most was thinking about a man wearing a flesh-colored ski mask with limp lips pasted on, and then we kind of went from there. And Blush, Michael, you designed 13 killers, so.
yeah.
And now another 13.
And now another, yeah. So season
12,
2 of Exquisite Corpses is in production right now, and I'm in the process of designing 12 new serial killers for.
How often do you have to delete your browser history?
You know what? I didn't, but I left a note with Tony Marie Griffin. If I ever die, please, for the love of God, destroy my computer. I think for me, like when you're designing that large of a cast of horror icons, it's about contrast, and they all need to feel very, very different. Like they almost, with Exquisite Corpses, we're kind of like genre jumping between different kind of horror tropes with each killer. There's our slasher killers, there's our sexy killers, there's our mascot killers, and there's like our body horror killers like the Congregation in season 1. So what I'm trying to do with Exquisite Corpses specifically is look at all the different genres throughout the subgenres of horror throughout, the history of the genre, and try and tap into which makes each of those different subgenres scary in their own way, and then but still put my own stamp and my own voice on those things, which is, it's not an easy thing. I think one of the best things that you can do when you're trying to design a character is have a really open collaborator that you trust, or other readers that you trust that you can send it to. Like with Fox Mask Killer, I said, I designed an initial version of Fox Mask, and I kept trying to iterate on that initial design. And James just looked at me one day and was like, stop. Just stop. Move on to the next person, right? So, do a bunch of different designs, send them to some friends, be like, which one of these is really connecting with you? Tell me why. And then you can kind of go from there and iterate if you need to, or just like move on to the next character.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, I think we've got time for these last 3, but we may have to move a little quick. So here we go.
Hey guys, I'm Jared. Just want to say thank you all for being here, and ask the whole panel, what was your favorite monster growing up, or mythical creature?
I'm old, so I'm right out of the gate. It's Godzilla. I started out with black and white Godzillas at 11 o'clock at night when my parents were sleeping.
Yeah.
And I will argue to this day that the first couple are horror films.
Yeah.
But like I started with Godzilla. That was my favorite.
Love it.
For me, probably Frankenstein. I was very lucky to be able to write and draw the Universal Monsters Frankenstein book for Image Comics. But I always just thought he had such a fun, interesting design, all these patches of skin that are stitched together, these bolts drawing in electricity. And I'm talking about like the classic Boris Karloff Frankenstein when I think about, as a kid, my first exposure to the character. So as a kid, I was drawing him all the time, but then you get older and you see all these different takes on Frankenstein, which is another thing that I love about Frankenstein's monster, is that so many different artists have done their own versions of him over, the history of the character. And it's really interesting to go back and look how other people depict him and how what they find interesting about that character. So yeah, for me, Frankenstein.
I should say smartly, like Michael, to synergize that the Phantom of the Opera is my favorite, because I recently wrote the Universal Monsters adaptation with Martin Simmons, but it's Michael Myers.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm going to kind of cheat and say Godzilla also, because it's different Godzilla, though. When I was a kid, it was like Godzilla 1999, right? I mean, I don't even think I've ever fully watched that movie, but I remember it was my birthday, and I made my parents, well, I didn't make them, but I asked them to, hey, can I have a Godzilla? And they got it for me, and I thought it was the coolest shit ever. But So Godzilla 1999, there you go.
I saw that one in theaters, and when I walked out of the theater, I was like, Dad, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And he very quickly was like, that opinion is probably going to change.
I could like movies the way I liked them when I was a kid again,
Look, that Godzilla is everyone's Godzilla for a certain age, and I love that one as well, so I get it.
Yeah.
For me, is the xenomorph, the alien.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
Always
just there's something about that design that I just always grabbed me.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank
Hello. So I'm a huge horror fan, and I've always been kind of confused about the concept of protagonists within horror films. So I was curious, from your perspective, when you're writing or creating a concept, the people alive, let's say in like a Halloween situation, they're the protagonists, they want to survive. but let's say a Michael Myers is also a protagonist because he has his own objective and he wants to kill them. So when you come up with your creative designs, are you looking through the eyes of the monster or villain technically, or through the eyes of the people that are trying to survive? And how do you mesh those together?
I think Tyler and I are in the same boat here as far as like I don't know if you've read my books, but all of mine, the serial killers are the heroes. So yes, I am definitely in their eyes and in their head when I'm thinking straight from them. And I think Tyler and I are like, oh, I hate to admit this, but yes, I'm the serial killer in every book.
For me, I think there's a few different tacks that you can take there, a few different roads in terms of storytelling where like you can make the protagonist someone that you want to see die horribly, and you can get that gratification of following this person, liking them less and less as the story goes, and then really paying that off for an audience. Or you could create a character that is really emotionally resonant for someone that people are rooting for. So when they get to the point at the end where either they die or they escape and they're the final girl, like there has to be that sense of gratification at the end of horror either way. There's a lot of different roads you can take. And with Exquisite Corpses specifically, we wanted all the civilians to be the protagonists and have the killers really in the back and keep some mystery to them so that they were more and more terrifying as that mystery box kept unveiling.
Yeah, I think, and that's because I think it's a mix of those two things, right? It's when I'm working on Randy specifically, it's trying to figure out what Randy's doing. I'm very much inhabiting that killer space. But if I don't make you love spending time with, our main cast of civilians or characters, then their deaths aren't going to mean anything to you. So I put a lot of myself into those characters, a lot of things, hoping that, there's a little bit of chaos magic to it, right? You kind of put in enough of yourself to hopefully that connects with other human beings. And
we got Grant Morrison over here.
No, I'm not doing what is he doing? No.
Little sigil for the crowd.
Yeah. But no, you put as much humanity as you can of yourself into those people, and then hopefully, then if you do kill them, then the audience is going to be upset about it, or if you don't, then they're going to be worried about them the whole time.
Yeah. I've never written horror, so I'm going to just pass it right along.
I think the problem you have as a writer in horror or even as an artist, is the more you see the monster, the less scary it is. Mm-hmm. And the more you know of the monster, the less scary it is. And yet, the audience wants to see the monster. They want to know the monster. And so I find that you're usually doing with the protagonist is figuring out how to utilize the protagonist or any other character, really, any possible victim or main character. You're trying to utilize them as a way to telephone connect to the monster and get through those characters some sort of audience identification so that you can then relay an audience fear and the character can become a cipher for the audience's point of view on some level, or a partial cipher or what have you, so that you can get these, sort of ways of connecting and disconnecting. To me, I'm trying to use the characters to connect and disconnect the audience from how they should view the monster.
So in a way, the monster is the protagonist in some sense.
I would argue that's the case in horror. That's why the monster almost always is the title. Mm-hmm. In many cases, at least in my case, that's true. Like the eye collector is like the ice cream man in the sense of, although we will be following characters over multiple issues and over arcs and so on, the eye collector is the glue. And the eye collector is the one where always with on a certain level. He's the one who controls the point of view. He's the one who's always beside our point of view, or utilizing, connecting, breaking the boundary. But I think it's just also generally true in horror that you have that. You're in many ways utilizing the characters to manipulate the audience. In different ways so that they see what you want them to see, they fear what you want them to fear. You give them glimpses, you take things away, you give them questions. You're kind of playing a weird game of using those characters as ciphers for the audience, but also wanting them to connect to the characters and care about them. And it's very difficult. So, but I think to make it work, at least the easiest way to make it work, perhaps maybe not the only way, is to first get a real handle on what does that monster represent, and try to figure out how to carve that up into more concrete fears that the characters can then telephone connect the reader to.
We've got time for about just that last question. This one's going to have to be a little bit of a lightning round. We got 2 minutes.
Oh, let's do it. Lightning round.
Just want to say thank you guys for being here, of course. As a retailer, I just want to let you know that horror is the most popular genre in my shop, so it's really exciting stuff.
I love that this kind of became a horror panel. And
Well,
this
it's
is
about the
I know
future
it's
of
not.
comics. Now.
I gotta do a horror
Hey,
book. What's going on
Fireborn's
here?
doing great for us here. I wanted to ask you guys just what's at the top of your reading pile right now, month.
Oh, what a great question to end
Oh,
on.
that's always a tough
Ice cream
one.
man.
Because my pile is like 3 months late.
Sure. I mean,
like it's
who's caught up on the
Yeah.
reading right now?
my horror wise.
I know anything.
Just in general.
Just in general. I mean, I'm going to go with the obvious answer right now. I am loving Dork.
Yeah.
Yeah, just loving it. Brett Bean's stuff is amazing.
I'm a big reader of manga, and I just picked up Yawn, which volumes 1 and 2, and I've been reading through that, and it is really cool. It's like a mix of action, a little bit of horror, a lot of really cool art and storytelling, and incredible characters. So yeah, really enjoying Yawn.
Again, a little bit basic. Absolute Batman and Batman, both of them has been super fun. But also, new Sammy Harcum Crickets came out. If you're into weirdo, you could pick up Blood of the Virgin, which is a great book about making a horror movie in the 1970s of California. But Sammy's amazing cartoonist. It's fantastic. So if people should check that out. But it's not monthly. It's once every 3 years, single issue.
So I fired a stray bullet at Marvel earlier, so I'll say am loving the Stephanie Phillips Lee Garbett Daredevil. It's really exciting and excellent. So shout out to the two of them. I was just telling Tyler before the panel, I love the first issue of his book. There's this like great sequence where it's like a first person 9-panel grid on the swing set. Blew me away. He's a smart, talented boy. So shout out Tyler. And yeah, those are two I'm really loving.
Love it.
Yeah, for me, Absolute Batman, Ice Cream Man, and Sorted Crisis Events, which I love. And I'm always reading Spawn and anything. I love Spawn.
Love it. Guys,
Thank you guys so much.
give it up for the panel. Thank you so much. Stay hydrated. Thank you. Make sure and read some comics. Catch you guys later.